Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the House of Commons. I'm LD Demola. To my left,
Maya Siobhan.
Emma LaRouge.
Ifeinwa.
House of Commons. House of Commons.
Got a clink.
Let me start off by saying I feel so lucky right now. If you have noticed, it is a very special episode. I have some beautiful ladies here with me today. My brothers are outside of the country or outside of the state, taking care of business, and I'm here representing the house. But today's a very special episode, and before I start anything, I just want to thank the ladies for coming in today and just give them a round of applause for stopping by the set and, representing a perspective that we haven't had on the show before. Today's episode, we're going to get right to it. Why do men cheat? Why do men cheat? It's a very sensitive topic, important topic, but they will like to discuss it. I would like to join in as well. So, I guess I'll start off with why do men cheat? Should I start this off? Or?
Yes, you should.
Okay. I think men cheat because of the foundation. They cheat for many reasons, but I believe it's a foundational thing. What is the foundation of the relationship they're in? Are they in a real relationship? How did it start? What is the main foundation? I actually was listening to a song today that I've heard for a long time, but I just realized what she was saying. RESPECT or whatever that stuff. And she says, all I ask for is respect when you get home. I never really thought about that perspective. I never even thought of those words. I didn't realize that's what I was listening to, but nonetheless, I think it's a foundational thing, and it's also a thing of self-respect from the man's perspective, and the respect he has for the lady. But we'll get into it. Let me know what you guys think.
Well, there are several reasons as to, of course, why a man cheats. Like you said, it's the foundation of the relationship. It always doesn't start that way, but at some point it gets to that point. Now, both couples, what I say, it all boils down to communication. Now, sometimes women assume they are in a relationship when the man doesn't feel he's in a relationship. So sometimes there is miscommunication as well. Don't give titles if he hasn't defined a title. All right, so all those comes into play. Lack of satisfaction, lack of fun, just the compatibility with the person that you're with makes a difference as well. So it's a communication thing, and there's so many things that comes into play as to why that man is cheating. You as the woman have to ask yourself, why is he cheating if I'm giving it my all? Or did we really define this relationship? Are we boyfriend and girlfriend? Or are we just kicking it? Are we just friends with benefits? So sometimes us women assume things and try to give it a title so quickly when he hasn't really come to that point of it. And if he doesn't come to that point of it, trust and believe he's still gonna keep sleeping with other women, because he never told you that you guys are just committed alone.
I think that's letting the guys off the hook.
Yeah.
Completely.
I agree.
Whether we're in a relationship, we're not in a relationship, if you kind of know, right? You know when you're with someone, you know how that person is gonna feel if you're out there sleeping with someone else. Even if, as a man, you haven't said, "Hey, it's just me and you," right? The impression that you've given her without a conversation is that she is your only girl. Then you go out and do something and come out like, "Well, hey, we didn't have that conversation. That's nonsense." Then the other part about if there are problems in the relationship, he's not having fun, So if you're not having fun, again, that's when you sit down and have the conversation. If it's not working, you sit down and you have that conversation. And if in that conversation still, it's not working, then you can leave. Because I'm pretty sure you're not saying to her, "Let me, if I don't start having fun, right this second, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to cheat on you." That, you're not saying that.
So for me, I'm going to say it's about options. And I've heard this from a comedian. He said, a man is only as faithful as his options. So in a relationship, there's levels to it. You meet someone, when you meet that person, it's like, oh, I like you, you like me. Then the people that you are dealing with tend to taper off. Now, the option, I'm going to keep this person in the cut because I don't know if this is going to work out. Or if something happens in the relationship, i.e. lack of communication, she may not do what I want her to do. And then you say, okay, let me call option A up and or B. So I would say that men cheat because of options. When you take away options, I'm your only option.
But options are never just gonna go away. Options are always gonna exist. So you as that individual, what is it that you're bringing to the table? Have you really have a full understanding of what he's looking for?
Sometimes men don't know what
have
they're
that
looking for.
conversation.
How many times does that happen? They say it and you get it. It's like, oh, well, I
wasn't
meant
sure. I'm not ready for it.
Right, which is understandable, but when you meet someone, you guys are at the phase of knowing each other, you guys are going out, you're hanging out, you kind of pick up the vibe of who this individual is and what they're capable of
If
doing.
you're paying attention.
Well, you should be paying attention.
If being honest.
If you're being intimate with this individual and you're not paying attention, honey,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's your fault. But it's something that you should be paying attention to, because when you meet people,
Yeah.
at some point you get a glimpse of who they are.
But what happens when everything is working and they still cheat?
Let me ask this question.
Then you ask the question, why are you cheating? If I'm giving you...
Which just brings us
Back
back
to
around.
But there's always a reason.
Sometimes
I believe it.
It's not always the case. There are some men that are just dogs. Don't
They
get me
can't
wrong.
do just
there are
one
some men
person.
that are just like that
Yeah.
can just be committed to one
Commitment,
woman.
period.
You know, they just rather have. They say there's no pussy like you pussy, so they just rather keep going and going and going.
Because it's
So-
options. I'm telling you,
just
when you
watched-
take away options from a man, I promise you, he will turn around and say, you know what? She's gonna know about this person.
But you,
I've been there.
But you at some point kind of have an idea if he has other women he's talking to.
Well,
Along
it's-
the way
it's-
when you're dealing with this individual,
Not
you
if-
pick up
Not
on
that
that.
she just
Okay,
throw
now
fish in the
let me ask a question, because you just said if there are other women he's talking to. Now, when we're talking about cheating, are we talking about intimacy, or are we just talking about talking to other women?
I think mental cheating is worse than physical.
And what would you consider mental cheating?
When you're at home and you're thinking about the girl that you met earlier.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean,
And I can feel you leave while I'm in the kitchen cooking you dinner.
so
And you're playing your video game and you left. You're not here. You're thinking about Shorty that passed her desk this morning.
I don't know. That to me is more like lust.
right.
No,
But if
I
it's like-
mean I think that's the first plant, the seed that's planted.
No, lust to me, lust is like is not cheating, because I could be thinking about somebody else, because because you pass someone and he's good looking. Hold on, he's good looking, he's handsome. You're like, ooh.
Stop. So
But
you
it
think about
doesn't
her?
mean
At home?
at home.
I'm
Yeah, I think
but like,
I think that is just a natural human thing to just. If you see someone
Well,
attractive, and you're like, oh, whatever.
because when I see
There's
someone
a
attractive, I
difference.
think about who I'm with.
There's what?
So
If I see
Because you
someone
look
now,
at like I mean, I'm a very faithful person. So.
I'm faithful. I've never cheated, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna think about somebody else.
When I say think, I'm saying like you're actually like think like your brain.
Okay,
I
okay. Can I make this kind of vivid? Okay,
Yes.
so when we talk about thinking, because I do think emotional cheating is it's more potent than physical
But to
cheating.
me,
Let me
it's
say
more
this,
than
though.
just the thinking about it. It's the conversation.
Let me
that
ask
you're
this question.
having
Let me ask this
with
question.
that
But before
person.
you say that,
Okay.
before you ask the question, actually, majority of men don't cheat emotionally.
They don't
Women
even know
cheat
how.
Emotionally, a man does not have
Amen.
no emotion when he's cheating. It's all about his satisfaction.
You just said something.
So,
you just said something though. You
There
said,
is no emotional connection when it comes to cheating with a man. I'm
okay,
sorry.
but you just said. Here's one thing that you just mentioned. You said men don't cheat emotionally when they're cheating, but we just defined two different kinds of cheating: which
Right.
is emotional and physical cheating.
Right.
So
They're
if
both-
you're saying
they're both
when they're
valid.
physically cheating, they're not emotionally cheating. There's no emotion when they're cheating with this person, or are you saying men don't actually think about other people?
Here's because I watched the show the other day, and that was what the guy said. Men don't, he's like, oh, it's just sex. It doesn't mean anything, right? The problem with that is that it actually does mean something. But, I just think men are programmed to believe it
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
Physical
but
doesn't matter.
But it does matter, because at the end of the day, you're saying it means nothing. So if that's really the case, then you're willing to jeopardize everything for nothing. And if you're willing to jeopardize everything for nothing, then there's a serious mental issue going on.
Well, they're not thinking that.
They're not
deep.
exactly. They're
See,
not
we
thinking that.
think in
But
3D, 4D.
and that's why it's a problem, because it's just sex. They're not even thinking, but like they're not thinking about that when they do it.
No.
But afterwards,
Maybe.
that's always the problem, because it's, oh man, I shouldn't have. I did it. Blah blah blah. It's the consequence is never thought about.
Here's one thing that I will say.
You
It seems like a common denominator when a lot of women are talking about men cheating. I think you guys really underestimate a man's mind and spirit. I think women think of men's mind and spirit of like as like boyish behavior, immature behavior. A man doesn't. A man, like a man who has. Let me say this. A man who has a family, a man who has a daughter, does not just go out there and sleep with somebody for the sake of sleeping. So if I'm being serious. There's.
So I'm being serious.
No. I'm gonna say something. There are different societies where cheating is looked at as it's nothing. Like we come from Nigeria. We're Nigerian, right?
Uh-huh.
A man in power in Nigeria sleeping with a woman from a market or something is just looked at as he's doing whatever he needs to do. But in American society, right, where the foundation of a relationship is kind of
see the difference is that the difference with that when you say like when you take something like Nigeria and say, oh, when a man sleeps with some market woman, it's just
it's what it's looked at.
It's looked at nothing, but it actually is looked at as something. The only difference is that, like you mentioned earlier, the power structure. What are the rights of women in Nigeria compared to what you want to compare here in America? It's completely different. So it's not that they look at it as nothing, because emotions are emotions across the globe. You're gonna feel something, but what power do you have to protect yourself or to defend yourself or to fight that that situation or to leave that situation?
You're saying Nigeria versus
right?
Okay.
I think on the aspect of the Nigerian side of it, I think there is so many things that plays into it in terms of why some women tolerate the man that's cheating on them. Majority of the time it has to do with finances. Some women feel like, you know what, if he's providing everything,
I don't
doing
care.
whatever he can,
And that's across
they
the
don't
world.
care.
Yeah.
That's not, I mean,
Is she getting her?
That's
it
across the
could be
world.
across the world, but let's be realistic.
I'm not from
Nigeria.
When we
It's
talk
across the
Nigeria,
world.
it's a whole different thing. Honey, I don't care. This is a Nigerian man. I do not care if he's doing whatever he's doing, as long as it's. But are you really considering the diseases that's bringing home to you? There's so many things that plays into it.
No.
Accepting it, it's no problem. But honestly, I think finances play a role as to why some of those women
Can I ask
subject
another
themselves
question?
to that. Because
that's across the
financially
globe.
back home, they
That
are
is
not.
across the globe.
They're not that financially stable, and they feel like, you know what's the point of me leaving him for another woman to come into the house and then I start suffering?
Now let me ask you this.
across the
Let me ask you
globe.
this.
A lot of rich women
Is
stay
she
with
also
their
getting
husbands.
hers? Is she getting her?
Probably.
Exactly. She's probably doing
Yeah.
her all of the time.
Which is what makes her not care, because I can't assume a
It's
woman.
do me, I do you.
I can't assume
Yeah.
a woman who's
Yeah.
fully invested in the man is okay with him
Right.
doing anything as long as
And
the
that's-
man-
that's what
Once she
I-
leaves it, once she leaves it and says, okay, well, financially, once she finds out about it, and then she weighs it out, because every woman sits and does the pros and cons of every situation. It's like, okay, we have kids, we make this much, I got this house, and you start to think, okay, well, I don't want to mess up my situation if he's gonna go do this, so then I'm gonna go have fun as well.
Mess up your situation, so you telling me your life
I'm not
is
saying it's good to do.
So this is how I analyze it. Yeah, there are some rich women, we can say, across the globe that accept it, but there are a majority of women that don't accept it. And especially here, people are quick to divorce and keep it moving. Because at the end of the day, you get more in your pocket anyways. But if you choose to stay, that means that you don't value your life. Because at the end of the day, this man can bring a disease home to you. To me, that says a lot. I wouldn't subject myself to that kind of life just because I'm going to lose the house, I'm going to lose the finances and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I would rather divorce and live a healthy life whereby I can still continue my life than end up having HIV or AIDS.
Now,
Let's be
Here's the
realistic.
thing. But here's the realism of
Because
that
this
is
has
that
happened
it is
to a lot of
across-
married women.
It is across the globe. I've met women from different cultures, different countries, who will say he pays the bills, he takes care of me, and he'll have his girlfriend
His
or whatever,
friends.
and it's okay
Yep.
because they're stable, they're comfortable,
Yeah.
they don't have to worry about the bills. And to me, that is something that is kind of has been set up since time immemorial. You know, where men, kings will have concubines and all that stuff. And and it's like it's okay because he has power.
Yes.
He has the power, and so the women are gravitating towards that power. I'm like, well, if he's powerful, I'm powerful, and these girls may be the side chicks,
But we're
but I'm still the
comfortable.
wife. But they're
Because
comfortable and they
as
accept
humans,
it.
we want to be comfortable in some way.
Right. Not saying that it's okay, but it's just not restricted to Nigerian women. It's like a global thing because
you're right.
everyone has these issues. Cheating is not a cultural epidemic. It's a worldwide issue. I know girls like you said will have someone, he's cheating, and they're like, yeah, it's okay. I get, he gives me money, and they will have someone else that they're messing around with, either for money too, or emotions, or whatever. It's just this thing where it's like, people, at some point, you look at yourself, you make a decision for yourself, for your life. Right. What are you willing to tolerate?
Right.
Everyone can stomach, different things. Not everyone can stomach cheating. I know I can.
It doesn't last long. There's an expiration date on it.
Say it again?
I'm sorry. I was going to say there's an expiration date on accepting cheating.
Absolutely.
Like you see it, it's like, okay, and then you go through your emotions, and then it's, okay, wait a minute, this is not.
And I will jump.
And then it's like, okay, you smell the milk. It's like, okay, now this has to go.
I want her to say what she has to say, but just to quickly add something to what you said, there's also an expiration date on a man cheating. And I will get back to that.
But what I was gonna say is back to you. We weren't focusing this just on Nigeria. That was just an.
That comment was. That's why.
But this is what I'm gonna say. If you're, I'm not judging any woman who chooses to stay with his rich boyfriend. In some cases, they're not even rich, but some women still stay and accept the foolishness. But if you choose to accept it, you have the right to accept whatever you want to accept. Me personally, if I have my own going and I have my own finances where I have it, and I'm a driven individual, I'm a go-getter, I do not have to subject myself to that foolishness. Because when you keep tolerating it, there is no more respect. This man has made it bluntly known to you, you know what? I have side chicks on the side. You have accepted it, and we're just going to keep this going.
Whatever, so many people that do that though. That's the sad part.
It's so many women that are doing it, but I'm sorry, my life is more valuable. I've seen too many stories, too many realistic stories whereby you end up with a disease that you have to live with for the life. So to me, it's like you saying my life isn't so valuable compared to this finances or whatever support I'm getting from this man.
Or just him being there.
He doesn't respect you. Right. Sometimes it's just a companionship, but come on. Let's be serious.
Let me ask this one question. I just want a one-word answer, and then I'm going to say something. Because we talk about cheating a lot of topics that revolve around cheating focus on the men. I just want to ask one simple question. From your perspective, how common is male cheating?
As far as 1 to 10, percentage-wise?
On a scale of 1 to 100, right? 100 being crazy cheating.
Okay.
I just want one number answer. What would you say, how common, and we're using this perspective of, let's say, the United States of America, if we want to focus it down, Los Angeles, California. No, Los Angeles is bad. What is your perspective of male cheating as a whole? 1 to 100, 100 being crazy cheating.
I'm going to say 98.5.
Okay. Yourself?
I don't agree that it's that high.
Okay. What would you say?
Because I've never thought about it. I've never thought about it.
Cheers.
Well, this is what I think.
I've never thought about it. You could think because I have male friends that don't cheat.
Okay, now let me say this.
I have male friends that don't cheat. So to me, it's probably like 50-50. I have male friends that do cheat, and I have male friends that don't cheat.
Percentage.
Hold on, and I have male friends that do cheat. Male friends that do cheat, male friends that don't cheat. And then the ones that do cheat make fun of them and tease them for not cheating.
Now let me ask you.
So to me, I haven't been in. I think I've only been in one relationship where I've been cheated on, and I was like, it was over, done with. So I don't have. I've witnessed. I've witnessed other. My friends being cheated on. I've witnessed girls cheating on their boyfriend. I've witnessed no cheating at all, and it's just different issues. So I really don't think that much about cheating, because it's just not the form.
Now let me say one thing. From my perspective, right, and I've said this quite a lot, I think one main reason why men cheat a lot is because the foundation of the structure of relationships and the belief of what makes a relationship, from my perspective, is completely false, right? I think a lot of times when we talk about relationships, you hardly hear about people trying to pinpoint a man's perspective of himself and of a relationship. Now let me. I'm not saying men should be irresponsible in relationships, right?
Yeah, could you just actually explain what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay. So the belief is that people ignore the fact that men are wired to behave a certain way. Biologically, right? Would you agree or disagree?
I would say
Men
that
or boys?
Men, boys and men.
boys to men. I think
The male species or whatever
It's
they are.
wired.
They're wired.
I don't think it's biological. I think it's society. I think it's an environmental. I think it's environmental. I don't think it's biological
Yeah.
at all.
I think it's biological, but at the end of the day, right? A human being knows exactly what they're doing. They know it's right when
Absolutely.
it's right, and they know when it's
But
wrong.
if you're wired a certain way, you can only go the way
It's
they
a
Scientists have been
Because we nurture and they
hold
seek
on,
and
I'm just
find.
saying, scientists.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, let's go one at a time.
Here's the
One
thing,
time.
right?
Say that again.
So women nurture and men seek and find.
Would you say that's
No, no,
natural or would
no,
you say
no,
that's
no.
biological?
No, no, no.
Naturally,
It's not seek and find. I don't think it's seek and find. I think it's women nurture, men protect.
No,
hold on.
That's what
they
it's
find.
supposed to
What
be.
they're looking for, because, as my mom always says, men have to do what? Hunt. Without, when you take the hunting aspect out, they get bored.
They do.
And while
Okay.
in the group of it, he's getting bored because he's like, dang, I got
No,
her now,
but I
and
think-
she's in the cut.
But I
But
think
then so-
Hold on.
I think that depends
Hold on.
on, because to just to me to just reduce women to, you know.
No.
Let me. Can I? There's more to that statement. That was just. There's
Hold
more.
on. Okay, wait a second. Hold up.
Wait, no.
She has to say.
In the House of Commons. Let me say this, right? And that's where I think the problem lies, right? I'm gonna let you say what you wanted to say right
I
now.
actually.
But
Can I finish?
She's like mid-thought.
Okay, right. So but by that I mean to say it's like women just nurture, and so while they're nurturing and babying and he gets bored and that just means to me that in that relationship that woman has lost herself.
That happens.
And her
all the time.
identity and her it does happen, and that to me that's a problem. And it's not saying that she's at fault for for doing whatever, but a woman's job is not just to nurture. I've been doing research about women back in especially if you want to go to Nigeria, African women were warriors on the
We
battlefield.
still are.
I mean, like right, exactly. It's how, but things
Without us, it would be none of that.
Right, but they're like the warriors on the battlefield, on the throne. So it's like this idea of, this is the way men are supposed to be and this is the way women are supposed to be, and that's the cause of the problem. The actual cause of the problem is believing this is how men are supposed to be and this is how women are supposed to be, and that's why it's like environmental. Scientists have been, coding DNA forever. They haven't found the cheating gene yet.
there's not cheating gene.
It's
Go
not
ahead.
cheating.
That's
Go
what.
ahead. It's okay.
It's an outfit.
What did you want to say?
It's a cheating outfit.
I want to focus right now. I want to focus on the biological because you mentioned. Hold up.
Okay.
You mentioned something when I asked this question. You said men or boys. Now here's the thing. I believe society makes men, right? And time makes men.
Yeah.
But the seed and the wiring is the same. It's just that, as in anything, a younger person will make stupider decisions, and a more mature person with more to lose will make wiser decisions, right? You gain wisdom. But from my perspective, the wiring of a man is seek, hunt, and plant, right? That's why you have that much seed. Now, sociologically, it is not wise to actually, spread your seed that much, right? In this society specifically. But as I mentioned before, I think the foundation of why men cheat is because we try our best to ignore a man's actual
wired to.
wiring in society. What do you think?
Society is environmental.
Which is fine, but what do you think?
I mean, it all goes back to, honestly, at the end of the day, a man is wired to be the way they are. Are men gonna cheat? Yes, they are always gonna cheat, but it's us women to make a change to this. When you have a bunch of women out here that are willing to do whatever it is to be with a man, that's gonna continue on for the men to keep doing whatever they want to do. And then when you have women that subject themselves to that foolishness, then it's gonna continue to spread over and over and over again. So at the end of the day, it is us women to create the change. If you don't tolerate it, if you're not the woman that's out there that will just sleep with a married man, or you sleep with a man that has a girlfriend, be like, I don't care what's going on, blah blah blah, then it's gonna continue on. We have to make the change. If we don't make the change, they're gonna keep doing whatever they want to do.
Well, let me say this.
Okay.
I want to have a transparent moment. I've been cheated on and I've cheated. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. And I've actually been the female that dated guys that had girlfriends.
Why?
So, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Not that I sought out said gentleman, it was more, I'm going about my business and someone speaks to me.
Let me ask you
Wait,
this,
let me finish. So, and then I get into conversation and I know where I am. I'm not looking for anything stable. I'm living my life in this certain space and time. And this person is with someone. I actually was like, great, because I don't have to deal with all of that other stuff because I didn't want to be that girl. Being honest. So I use it actually as research for this very moment. Not knowing. No, really.
Good one.
Because I asked, old, young, rich, poor, all of that, right? And I said, okay, I asked, well, why? What's going on with your girlfriend? And it was just, she's just not the same anymore. She just doesn't do this anymore. I got bored. Or she misses me. Like, we live together, but she's missing me. Like, I'm in the house and she's not. So I've heard all these different, I've heard the financial part of it. I've heard she's not doing certain things. And I'm like, okay, well, just know that you can't call my phone like that. And if your girlfriend does call, I'm going to tell her who I am, because it's not just me. It's her and her and her and her. You see what I'm saying? So with that being said, I would say as a collective, I've heard she's not doing what she used to do. Right? Old, young, rich, and poor.
And I've heard that too from a guy that was married. He had his kids.
Oh, I don't do married.
Hold on. I wasn't interested in him. I wasn't interested, and I never,
That's to clarify that one, huh?
I never got farther with him, but just the conversation of why are you looking outside? And he did give that, she doesn't do certain things in bed. It wasn't so much that she's changed, but she's not freaky. She's not freaky. And so I'm just like, well, if you're out here your whole life messing around with freaky girls, why would you turn around and marry Sister Mary Margaret and now you have a problem? If you like freaky, marry freaky. Don't marry Sister Mary Margaret and then complain that she's not freaky, and so now you want to go and find a freak. That's crazy.
I mean, of course, when you meet an individual, over time we all change. Things happen that cause us to change. If you're married and you have kids, that's gonna create a whole different change. I have friends that are married, and it's completely different when a woman has a child. My sister is breastfeeding right now 24/7. The last thing she's thinking about is sex. So this all comes back to the individual that you're with. At the end of the day, not every man is gonna understand that aspect of change, but it starts from the beginning root when you guys were dating. Once you start accepting the disrespect, at some point that disrespect is gonna come again. Yeah. So it starts from the beginning. If you don't tolerate it, it won't happen along the way. That's not to say that things won't happen that will lead that man to cheat at some point, but honestly, before he does it, he will think twice.
Cheers to that.
He will think twice, because you have never made it acceptable, you have never made it okay, you have never tolerated it. But if you tolerated the disrespect from the beginning, honey, I am sorry to say it will continue and it will never stop.
What if you haven't?
I think that's the assumption that the man. You understand? Because there are a lot of assumptions being made here. That to me, all I'm hearing is for the majority of the part, the woman is at fault.
No.
Here's what you said: if you tolerate, if the woman.
That doesn't mean you're a fault. That just means that you respect yourself more than anything.
We're not talking. But see, you're talking about what happened. The respect part is after he's cheated. Right? The respecting yourself is after he's cheated, and then what you do. But before, during the whole relationship, again, there's this assumption that the woman has now done something or something has happened, and then the man goes and cheats, and then whether she chooses to stay with it now, it's like the woman. There's not enough responsibility being placed on the man, and to say it's biological is an excuse. Because you can't. I'm not missing the point. When you say something is biological, if something is biological, that means that it is permanent. There's nothing you can do about it. That's just the way it is.
That's what you're getting wrong. There's two things. Let me say something specific. I did not say cheating is biological. I said a man's wiring is the way how they think and how they feel, how their body reacts to certain things is wired a certain way. And I did mention society, and you gain wisdom and religion and things that structure you to understand the yin and the yang, the positive and the negative. If you do this this could happen, right? I did not say cheating is biological.
Okay.
I said men are wired to do things a certain way.
Okay.
Right?
But because the topic was cheating, I just kind of
let me
made that.
I want to
Okay.
piggyback off of what she was saying.
Okay.
It does sound like we're blaming women for men cheating. And I would say it's a direct reflection of the man. Like whoever's the cheater, you did it.
Right.
So you can't blame her as to why you did it. It's just that you did it. You see what I mean? So I guess we're asking the why factor, but sometimes what if you do everything you're supposed to do? You're there for your man. You're a freak in the sheets and a lady in the streets, and you're doing everything, and this happens, but yet he doesn't know how to keep his hands off of the options. He doesn't know how to, not know, but he doesn't practice, being with you. It's more, I think it's being comfortable. There's so many different levels to it. Because when a man is comfortable at home, sometimes it's a thing called too comfortable. My aunt, I love her to life because I promise you, this woman will change up in a minute. And her husband does not know what she's going to be on Friday. Because it's like, no, it's a shock factor. Because he's comfortable, our house is great, we've been married 30 years. But I may come in looking like little Kim. And
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Let me say this.
So you can't say, I'm just saying, when you have done everything, and you're there, and you're holding your end of the bargain, there's still those men that want more.
I'm gonna have to talk for this.
Okay, I am not supporting men cheating. Let's be clear here. What I am saying, it all starts from the root of it. When you meet that individual, let's be realistic. People tend to ignore people's character when they see things happening and
how you met him.
And pretend as if that it doesn't exist. How you met him,
It's true.
how it's going in the beginning, that's how it's going to continue. That is my point that I'm making. If you meet this man, honestly, and you're getting to know him and you're not the only one in the picture, why would you continue to waste your time to the extent whereby you guys actually get serious and you end up marrying? Come on. I mean, he's been having all the side pieces on the side. What do you think is going to happen when you guys get married?
Side pieces, or is it just dating before you guys?
Let our brother his.
But then this also goes back to, like I said, it also goes back to that beginning. But then when you guys get into the relationship, you as a woman, let's be realistic, it's not every woman that always does everything. That's not always
why I
the
made
case.
the point again of bringing it back to the woman again. Like again, you keep bringing it back to the woman.
I'm not bringing it back to the women. That's because I have seen this over and over in reality.
But
I'm not saying it's the men. I'm not saying
10-minute
that.
conversation is mostly focused on the women. And
Okay,
then
let me
like
say something.
a drop in the
Okay,
man. So to me, it is.
Let me say
No,
something.
it's focused on the women is because it's what you're accepting. It's what you're tolerating.
Again, like I
if
said,
you subject
again,
yourself
it's focused
to it,
on the woman again.
no, if you
The
subject
thing is
yourself
like, why
to
do
it,
men cheat? And you're talking about
why do men
women
cheat? Because
expecting it.
women accept it. If you
No.
keep
Let me-
accepting it, then it's gonna
Okay, hold up
continue
one second.
around.
Hold up
If
one
you
second.
wanna be disrespected, you continue accepting the disrespect, then the man is gonna keep doing that to you.
Maybe he might continue to cheat
Okay,
on
hold
that
on a second.
women,
Hold
on that
up, hold
particular
up.
woman in that
Hold
particular
up one
relationship.
second.
Let's
But
break
that's not
it
why
down.
he cheats.
Relax. Calm. Take something to drink. Oh my God. Drink something. Drink something. Let me say this. I've mentioned a couple of things, and I think I'm gonna straight up say it. A lot of times, the reason why men cheat is because the structure, I've said it before, the structure of relationships are not realistic. They don't favor the man at all. That's one thing I'll say. Number two,
What do you mean by that?
hold up, and I'm gonna get into it.
Okay.
We've said a lot about women who do everything, who do everything. We've also talked about people change every day. I think one main thing is, it sounds very cliche, communication. There are certain things that I should tell you as my girl. No matter how bad it feels to hear, there are certain things that I should be able to say to help us keep this relationship and to help me from cheating. There are certain things, like for example, if I spend 8 hours of my day in an office, and you spend 8 hours of your day in an office, and we only come home to eat and sleep, right? And I see a girl in my office that has really great conversations with me, I should be able to tell you, hey honey, look, this is what is going on at work. I should be able to tell you, but in this perfection relationship world that we live in, I'm not supposed to say that because that automatically makes me a bad man, which is why a lot of women suffer from being cheated on by men. And these are the women who do everything, right?
The
same
lack of
thing,
communication.
lack of real, honest communication. I should be able to say, look, honey, if I respect you enough, I gotta be able to say, look, honey, this is what is going on in my mind.
Yeah.
You are doing everything, and I should not even hold you accountable for doing everything because I do what I do, you do what you do, and I respect everything you do. but I've got to be honest with you. This is what is on my mind. If I'm able to say that without being judged and pinpointed as a bad guy, I promise you I will not cheat. Because number one, I won't be in a relationship with you if I don't respect you to begin with. That's one major thing. So I think that's one reason why a lot of times a woman who's doing everything, all you probably have to do is just listen to me honestly. Because men, we don't really express our emotions that much anyway, right? And if I am wired to think and to, my body's charged a certain way, right? I'm trying my best not to do it, right? I should be able to come to you and be like, look, this is what is going on in this body of mine. That helps me a lot if you listen to me. Another thing, we live in Los Angeles, California. I hate to be honest. I was just driving. I was just driving down the street, and there was a girl that was basically naked. Right? I'm not saying I should act upon that, but if you put an alcoholic next to alcohol every single day, they will fight not to do it, but one day they will taste it. One thing that you got, and I mentioned this before. I said I think women underestimate a man's mind and spirit. A man who's found himself, right, will hardly cheat because he's comfortable with himself. He's one with himself. I mentioned this on one episode before. A lot of men in this society, in a society where everything's done by computers, in a society where men don't really have that much work to do anymore, they're idle minds. They're not finding themselves because it's very hard to find yourself as a man in a civilization or in a society that is based on income. Or it's status. It's very hard to find yourself. Hey, I don't think exactly. I think when a man is in his comfort zone, there's a reason why a man who owns a business with his wife, right? He might cheat, but he will not cheat as much as a guy who's trying to be an actor in Hollywood who needs favors. Hey, I'm just being honest, right? There's a reason. There are different tiers. Am I lying? Am I lying?
You're telling the truth.
I'm telling the truth, right? So it's. I think one thing to solve the problem of men cheating, I think men should be allowed to be honest about how they feel. A lot of us will not do it, but if I'm with somebody that I see, a future with, and the same thing goes for her, because it's not like women don't think about the same thing either.
Right.
And it's important for you to say, yo, this is what is going on, because if I'm taking you for granted, familiarity breeds contempt. If we live at home, we do the same thing every day, you're going to work, and that new fly dude walks in the job, and he's telling you, yo, I really like the way you do your makeup, I am not mad at you for feeling a certain way because he's giving you the attention that I may not be giving you. So you need to be able to say, hey, yo, look, this is what is going on. Did I just gain points? Michael Jordan? Kobe Bryant? But what do you guys think about that? I've said the wiring, we're wired to do things a certain way. Not that we're going to do it, but that's already in our body. Number two.
I'm sorry. I want to say to what you said about I lost my train of thought. I want to say, when the way that men are wired and the communication, that's where I was going. So it's being able to speak to that person without objection coming your way.
Yeah.
Being transparent. Being able to say, baby, I'm not feeling this right now. Have you noticed in the past months or weeks we haven't done anything, intimacy, whatever that is, you open that door up for him or her. And I've been there. I'm like, okay, we've been together, a couple years, and I want to take trips. I want to start to do things.
Feeling like we're living like
because life is happening. Right. Life is still happening outside of our home.
Right.
So I bring you in, and then it's, now it's up to him to take the ball, look at it, and say, okay, let me start to make some changes. 9 times out of 10, what usually happens is, is that why your phone ringing funny? Is that, so, and vice versa for brothers. When they say, I don't know how many men can say, you're not doing the things the same way, because he knows he probably won't even be able to get his thought completely out before the woman comes out ready to chop his head off. And then every single female in his life, we have a running tab. It's, is that why Trina called you? And then we've broken down communication, and now I can't talk to you.
Right. I think then it's like communication, right? It's very important from the very beginning. You should feel like you should be able to tell your spouse, your partner, how, where you think the relationship is going. And then now, like you said, it's up to that person to act on it. And then also you as the person that's, expressing yourself, you still have to be able to accept the other person's,
Saying.
response to you. It may not always be as pretty as you want it to be, because sometimes you might say something to someone and they don't see it the same way you are. So then there just has to be like, okay, I've told you. It can't just be like, oh, I've told you, now that's it. But then maybe as it goes out, point certain things out in a proper way, so that everyone is now on the same page.
Right.
Because like you said earlier, I was in a relationship, we lived together, and at some point I was like, dude, I feel like we're like brother and sister here. What is this? Oh no, everything is cool, everything is cool. And so for me, I'm like, no, it's not cool. And so I'm going about my business, and now when I'm ready to walk out, oh, what's going on? It feels like we're living like brother. Didn't I tell you that a few months ago? So there's sometimes it's like
the harsh realities people don't want to do.
People don't want, they don't want to do it. They don't want to listen. They don't want to put in the work in a relationship. Like once you're together, that was just level 1. You live together.
That's right.
Level 1,
read the book.
right?
That's the
Then you just now have to build this connection, nurture your relationship, and not just the man, not just the woman, but the man, both, everyone, nurture the relationship, nurture each other's goals, nurture each other's dreams, so that you're on the same page, not just with, physical romance, but with the other aspects of your life, so the relationship is full.
Yeah.
And it's not just about this one
thing. I agree. I totally agree.
I mean, we can go back and forth on this issue, but at the end of the day, it's a decision that the individual has to make. It all boils down to who you want to be with and what works for you and what doesn't work for you, what you can tolerate and what you won't tolerate, what you're willing to compromise on and what you're not willing to compromise on. Communication plays a role, but I truly believe, to me, respect matters. So I am not going to subject myself to something that I will not tolerate.
Fire.
I will not tolerate it. So once I make that line very known, you can keep stepping.
Okay.
I'm not
So I have a
gonna
question.
tolerate it.
I want to be your devil's advocate really quick.
Yeah.
You're with someone. 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, right? And something changes.
Okay.
And in the change,
Something like what though? What change?
let's say he is not the youth is gone. He's like, I gotta find my youth,
That juice.
right? I'm gonna start going to the gym. And what's at the gym?
Women.
Tight bodies, all that, you know what I'm saying? Right? His wife is home 30 years. Their children are going to college, right? Let's say you have a conversation with a lady at the gym and you're sharing a smoothie. I'm being hypothetically speaking, but this has happened in some way, shape, or form, right? So I'm gonna fast forward. So you guys actually see each other quite often at the gym. No, granted, there's disrespect because you haven't told your wife, I think, but you're starting to discover your youth with this specific female, and because she's young and she's vibrant, and that old young dynamic works because he's trying to he's trying to hold on what's left, and she's in it, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do yoga and all this stuff, and they go on a date.
Okay.
Right? They go out together. We're not gonna give it a title because that's heavy, right?
Right.
Wife is home, everything's working, at home. Let's say I'm not gonna, because I don't feel like you slip and have sex, but let's say you're emotionally connected to this person in some way because you've now found your youth, right?
Okay.
You tell your wife, you have a conversation with her about it because you guys, mind you, you've left her out of maybe level 1, 2, and 3, but you're like, I feel myself getting ready to take this young girl to the Bahamas.
And get that business.
We're not little Kim. Nicki Minaj.
Go ahead.
So wait a minute. And you have this conversation with your wife. You're the wife. I'm not. He knows you're not taking it. I'm the same way, mind you. It's not gonna happen. But he's like, if I don't tell her, it's gonna eat me up inside. He has this conversation with you.
Okay.
Go.
Well, first of all, even if you don't tell her, she is gonna pick up on it because a woman's instinct is very powerful.
Very true.
Unless you choose to ignore it. Now, if he chooses to have this,
I don't know, man. Some of us be smooth, but
no,
30 years. I don't know. I'm gonna give it to you.
But
though.
let me
You can
ask
have
you
that
this,
one.
Maya. Though, prior to him going to the gym and finding his so-called youth, did he have this conversation with the wife in terms of?
Because guys, I'm gonna kind of connect all of these conversations that we've had. Because guys aren't wired to communicate like that.
They're not wired to communicate.
Like they stumble like, oh my god, I actually like this person in some way. Because at first it was just a body, an individual. Oh, she has a cute smile, but you weren't really. But now it's become a thing. So he's like, oh gosh. Maybe he's had a conversation with his boys, his coworker, you know, but he can't really
not
have
going to tell anybody.
I don't even think a
Probably,
woman is going to tell, right? Maybe later on.
I'm not telling.
I'm not telling
It
you.
has to be of
give you a
substance.
perspective.
It has to be of substance.
To give
Right,
you
exactly.
perspective.
So
Right, give you
there has to be
perspective.
a hole before you can, you know.
It all goes back to the. It all goes back to. I'm gonna let you. Let me give the male perspective.
Go ahead.
And then you can counter it. It all goes back to what I said about us talking, right? A couple things come into play. You mentioned the man is getting a lot older, and you see somebody young. That is something that an older couple should discuss.
Yeah.
You just got to be real with yourself. I know women peak at a certain age, and we start declining at a certain age. I'm gonna have to let you know, mommy. When you're looking for that juice, though, you're gonna have to talk because it's natural. You are wired to do that. So we're gonna have to cut the socially, politically correct, get the religion stuff to the side, and let's be like, yo, look, this is what's going on in my body, for real.
Right.
It just is what it is. If we want to keep this in, we gotta be able to say as much as possible because, as a man, I can already think if I get to a certain age where bingo stick is not talking as he used to, I'm gonna start feeling insecure and start looking for that juice somewhere else. And if you cannot, it's just the truth.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have these conversations with this lady, and to kind of go, to add on to what you said, our egos really don't talk that much, right? We don't like saying things.
No.
You're gonna have to find a way. The cheating is probably gonna happen if we don't have these conversations. That's why I asked that question specifically. How common is male cheating? Because I think the society paints this picture that it's really bad. But I know my friends, in a group of 10 of us, there's only one of us that acts like a dog. Because we have bigger ambitions than giving, this is my perspective, I think cheating with a woman is giving her too much power. It's giving her too much of your energy that she does not deserve. Because, call it ego, whatever it is, I cannot hear my name in a chick's mouth. Just using it however she feels, that just gives her too much power that she doesn't even deserve at all ever in life. If it's ego, I don't care because I think I want to value myself in a specific space where not just any girl can. I always say she has to have something to lose. So if I'm gonna cheat with somebody, it's probably gonna be Condoleezza Rice or somebody. Like, come on, son. I'm just saying. I'm just being real. She's gotta have something to lose.
He's like, gonna be a power play.
That's exactly what I do. These House of Cards. But what do you think? What you said though is really, really critical because everything could be going perfect, and then all of a sudden emotions change.
So you're gonna throw 30 years away.
Let's be realistic, Maya. There is never a case where everything is perfect.
No,
we don't live in a perfect
never
world.
perfect. There's always something lacking.
Yeah.
So it boils down back to communication. Okay. Now this man out here is looking for his youth, and he happens to find a youngin in the gym, and he's kicking it to the point of traveling with. I don't even know how he's even getting away with traveling with her, but that's for the woman. Not to pick up on that. I mean, like, seriously. But at the end of the day, if he ends up sleeping with that woman, it is just a matter of him fulfilling that.
So he does
of
it.
satisfaction.
What do you do as the wife?
What do I do as a wife? Me personally, I mean, it comes back to those cases are different. What I have a problem is you cheat once, you continue cheating. You continue cheating, and
Right.
you as a woman continue tolerating it.
Well,
Now,
what do you
this
do as a
married
wife?
woman,
That's the extreme
That's
case.
I'm talking
that is
about-
the extreme case, which I don't tolerate. But we have been married 30 years, and he
Yes.
has never cheated on me.
Right.
He gets that juice back?
And he happened to
He just-
cheat this one time. You know what? I'll grant him a. Okay, but what I was saying is this. Because this is 30 years. This is not just.
He gets that juice?
No,
Do you get that juice too,
but
though? Do I give you that juice pass too?
But no, listen though. But this goes back to how it started. If we started out along the lines of him cheating on me,
everything right.
I wouldn't. Okay.
I get what you're saying.
I mean,
I get
I'm
what
not
you're
gonna go. I'm not gonna marry the man who has started cheating on me before we
But
get married.
I was just
That
trying
is a
to.
whole different
I was being
topic.
devil's advocate as far as
But of course,
what we
at some
tolerate.
point it happens.
Because
But then is that
what you
cheating then?
tolerate, what you tolerate has a lot to do with your situation. And I've heard, and I've been that woman. I'm not dealing with a man that's going to cheat. Guess what? The heart wants what it wants. And it does not agree with your mind and your morals. Wait a minute, your mind, your morals, your standards, all these things we paint this lovely picture. Because once the heart is there, you start to, okay. You see what I'm saying?
Right, but let's be realistic, Maya. I'm quite sure you've seen some cases where you yourself feel like that is complete stupidness. And that exists.
Yeah.
And I am speaking to those complete stupidness cases. Don't don't get me wrong, there are exceptions where some women are just caught in a situation where they weren't, they didn't even know that they were going to be caught in that situation. I'm not judging anyone. Everyone has the right to do whatever they want to do. But at the end of the day, it's for us as individuals to decide what we are going to take and what we're not going to be.
But what if you don't have a choice?
Okay,
You have a choice, Maya. Maya, you have a choice. And
Some men are wonderful
The heart
liars.
wants what it wants, baby girl. I'm telling you.
no,
Guys, stop. Calm down. Leave me alone. Stop flirting. My girl might be watching this.
No, but
I'm just kidding.
we do have a choice. And let me give you a good example. I was watching this movie called Mississippi something. It was a crazy disturbed family. 3 sisters. One is with a man that's completely cheating on her, like bluntly, and she knows it. She's not even paying any attention to her son. The other sister's with a man who keeps beating her and she keeps losing every pregnancy. The other sister's with a man who is married and keeps gambling every time she gives him the money. There is a choice at the end of the day, because there are certain things that will be affected by your choice that you choose to make. Okay? Especially when kids are involved. Us women sometimes tends to be so selfish because it's all about how we're feeling. It's all about our hurt. We're not looking at how is this affecting, if we have children, how is this affecting other people in our lives? What example are you setting? I have 3 sisters and I'm the eldest, so I have to set an example. So at the end of the day, it's about a choice. And I personally choose that respect to me is so much greater than anything else that you have got to offer out of your pocket and out of your pants. That is just my take on it.
But
Now, that's not to say that there's some women out there that will not just do whatever it is that they want to do. Hey, you have a choice, but there are consequences that you have to pay for each and every action that you take and each and every decision that you make. That's just how I look at it.
okay.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that really hasn't been mentioned at all when it comes to cheating. Oh, there was one thing with the 3 sisters there. All I could think of, you have 3 sisters that are just making terrible decisions with men. My first instinct was, what was the father of the role in that?
Boom! Bingo!
That's it.
Okay, so now we're pointing blame because
No, she's blaming the foundation.
the foundation is the root of the tree. Because your mother was a crackhead don't mean you have to be a crackhead. I do not know that. It's a choice.
You don't like to just focus on this thing, the girls. Again, where was, did they have a history of bad relationships with men? What was their father's role? And we're talking about a movie here, so I don't even know why you're getting excited. What was the father's role in the movie?
Let me say
was he around?
Let me say something. And I don't, look, this is one thing that I'm going to say, and it's a lot of the problems and a lot of the issues in this country right now, or in a lot of societies, is we want to disagree. We want to ignore the need, the power, and the structure of a man, right? I will say this. Cheating is very common, and domestic violence is very common in certain communities because of the pressure on the man, right? And not just the pressure on the man, but the inability for that man to reach this next tier of himself as a better person, right? It is the truth, so I watch different things with bash men all the time. It's really cute, but everybody just wants to ignore the fact, right? It is important to bring up the father, right? If we bring up the father in a situation where the daughters are going through bad things, what is the father's story? When you look at the African American community in America, where 50% are automatically thrown in jail, men, right? You cannot ignore the fact that these men are not even given a chance to be their greatest self. Right. So of course you're gonna see, because if I don't feel like I'm worth anything, right? Connecting back to the 50-year-old man who's cheating with the 19-year-old girl, it all goes back to self-esteem and worth. Right. If I feel like I am not worth anything, I will go out there and prove my worth. You will see it in a lot of minority groups. You will see a lot of these things, not just black, but anyone who feels like they cannot reach a certain point of their own self-esteem will always cheat. So yes, those women are going through bad relationships with men, but guess what? If you look at that society that they live in, it's so common, it's not even, you can't even look at it as a problem because it's so common. It is a problem.
It's a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so common, it's like, okay, the next step from here is just the next step. But you can't really...
Which is what?
It's
So you have to look back, heal from it, because it's not just, okay, this is the cause and that's the blame, and so...
And the one thing that I want to say though...
You look back and you say, this is what happened. This is their experience of a relationship with men, which begins with their father. And if the relationship there is not as strong, it's not whatever, that has to be paid attention to. It doesn't mean that now the woman is doomed to, you know, to be in like terrible relationships with men and not make good decisions. But now she can, if she's smart enough, if she's willing, if she's able, focus on how to heal how she feels about her father, how, you know, understand what that relationship is, understand how that is affecting her relationship with the men that she chooses, you know, and then that would also, you know, and that also happens with the men too, because a lot of men also, you know, say that they weren't taught how to be men and husbands and that because their fathers weren't around. So again, it has to go back to look into that relationship. How can you move on from my dad wasn't around, so rah rah rah. Okay, yeah, your father wasn't around, you know, but now you know that this is the problem, this is the issue, and with everything, the problem is the solution. Once you know the problem, you can deal with it, you can address it. So once that's acknowledged, you know, and not just this is why, and then you just keep doing it, but this is why, and then you're like, how can I turn this around for myself, for my future, for my children, so they don't have the same issues.
What you want to say?
It's not always the case where some of these women had a father that was missing out of their life sometimes. I mean, let's be real.
It's not all the time.
It's not all the time, but that's why I asked about that movie. Where was the father in that? Because that's where it came up.
They didn't show the father in the movie, so that. But
Well, okay.
Hold up. I'm gonna need her to be able to say her.
It's not always the case whereby some of these women, the father was missing out of their life, or they had a bad childhood. Some of these women had good childhood. Their parents were in their life, but it's a decision factor. You know, it started from one relationship whereby they started accepting a man disrespecting them, and then it just continued. Every man that they meet, they just felt like it was okay. You know what? It's whatever. But just because my father, not that my father is any of that type, but just because your parents choose to make certain decisions, we're in a society whereby we get so much support from other individuals, so much support from other family members that's in our life. But let's be realistic though. It's not always, what we continue to do as black people is we always find a reason to point the blame. Oh, it's because the mother was not in the life. It's because the mother was a crackhead. It's because the father was not in there. The father was in jail. Blah blah blah. We keep finding facts of facts, but it's not always the case. I was watching a documentary yesterday on MSNBC. The mother had nothing to do with drugs. The mother was, she was so loving to her child. Both parents were in the child's life. But that child turned out to end up in jail for 42 years. You know why? He started hanging out with the wrong crowd. So it's not always the parents' fault. It's not always the upbringing of the child. It's not always going back to, okay, how was the household of the child? And how was the household of the parents?
To be clear. I never said it was always the issue. I said it needs to be looked at. You cannot ignore it.
Fine.
It's a big one.
It's a big one, you know?
Okay, so what I was going to say was, your foundation sets who you are.
Bingo.
Now, I come from a family with my mom and my dad. We look like the Huxtables, right? Brother's older, I'm the baby. Yeah, I tell everybody what to do. Now, my dad, he was, working guy. My mom, basically we're a middle class household. Right. The neighborhood we grew up in wasn't so middle class. But when I came home, my mother talked to me about everything under the sun. You hear me? I'm talking under the sun. And what I didn't get from her, I listened through the wall to my brother and his homeboys about how they dealt with women. Now, my brother and I really didn't talk like that. Like, he doesn't talk. And when he does, everybody will listen, right? But I listened to how they dealt with girls. So when I went to school, I said, okay, I see how this person. So I started to categorize people, and I noticed how certain girls would do certain things, and I would hear, and my mother was talking to me. Mind you notice I never said my dad. My dad didn't really say much, but what he did say is if he saw somebody on TV that was naked, he would look at me. I mean, I never see you do that. You know what I mean? So that was planted in my head. So every time I would see it on TV, I'm like, oh God, Now when I went out into the world, I made a choice to do certain things from my foundation. What I'm going to accept, what I'm not going to accept, the type of woman I'm going to be. But guess what? Without my mother whispering things in my ear, and she does it now, and I'm in my 30s, about life and men and wisdom and all of that stuff, I would not be where I am mentally. So those, to kind of rear us back to the cheating aspect, I have friends whose parents, no disrespect, aren't the strongest in relationships and how to relate to people. So they go out in the world and do what? Seek that love from people. And if you know the world like I know the world don't love you back.
Nah,
So you gotta learn through
Yeah.
getting beat up, and you know what I'm saying. And then your friends are like, oh, she's stupid. She dealing with Joe Blow, but you don't understand that that's the only Joe person she knows. That's the only foundation and relationship that she knows. So you have to go from where you came from. Now to kind of piggyback off of the guy that's in jail for 42 years, you can have an upbringing, but if your parents don't pay attention to you, it doesn't matter.
Also, that's a unique situation. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
so I'm just saying, it's
of,
all about your foundation and
Yeah.
relationship, because you see one more point. You see what I see is what I see at home is what I see in the street, and I look at it. I have an uncle who is player, okay?
Smooth.
Woo! Wow! butter baby, right? I'm not gonna go there, because he's like, listen. But the point is that his children, they all love him. All the women in his life, because of the type of man he is. If you talk to all of his kids, you can see that they're all like him. One of his sons is like, I will never step out on my wife because my father has 9 kids or whatever. And his wife should be lucky because he took the other end of it. But it was the foundation that he saw. He saw all those women and he said, you know what? This is even before he even had a daughter, because his daughter came last. But he said, I don't want to be that part of my dad. But without that foundation, where do you go? Where's your catalog? Like, how do you know what to do? Especially in that relationship.
So, yes, the foundation matters, but at the end of the day, Maya, let's be realistic. Of course, there are going to be cases whereby so many kids are affected by the way their parents, dictate their life, or what has happened in their parents' life, or what type of parents they had. But that's not to say you as a child, as you continue to grow, just because your mother or your father was a certain way means you have to take that part.
You don't know.
Understood. Okay,
What do you mean?
Let me say something. Let me give you.
What do you mean? How do you know? So if you don't put your hand in the fire, you don't know it's
Hold
gonna
up,
burn.
hold up.
You are not at the age whereby you're 5 or 6. You have grown now. You are at the point whereby you can tell wrong from right. You can tell that whether what your father was
taking from people was right to me.
Hold up 1 second.
Really? So if you detect that your father being a crackhead and being the way that he is right, then I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Hold up. Let me say something. No. I get what you're saying. You gotta.
I do not believe in the aspect of subjecting. Yes, it does matter how your parents bring you up. It does matter how your parents were. It does matter the kind of home you grow up in. But at the end of the day, when you break out of that home, you can make a choice.
Let me ask you. Hold up. Let me give you a perspective, right? We had a conversation before, right? We had a conversation a couple of days ago when I came to have a conversation, right? I was having a conversation with you. You spoke about your family, right? Mother and father in your household, right? Which shapes the way you're so structured in your beliefs of this is how it should be. I'll give this.
Before you continue, let me just say this, right? My mom has made some decisions that I personally, as a child, I vowed I would never make those decisions.
Understood.
So let's just be clear.
Understood, right?
And I didn't even grow up with my mother. Let's just be clear.
Okay.
So while we're making this foundation, I didn't really grow up with my mother. I traveled a lot with my dad. So let's just be clear on that as well.
Okay, cool.
So yes, foundation matters. But go ahead.
If you wanted to call your father, you can call your father. If you want to call your mother, you can call your mother.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. Now, this may be an excuse, I don't know. But I've given this perspective on one of our topics before, right? In high school, my set of friends, it was myself and 5 other black men, right? Only one of us came from a household where mother and father were present. His life has not been easy, right? But he got his master's. He went through school like this, right? Comparing him to myself and my other 4 friends I grew up in a double broken home. So,
What's double broken?
Like, mother got divorced and divorced again. So I've seen it happen twice.
Wow.
Do you understand that? I don't know if it's an excuse, but there's a certain part of my mind that, because it takes a village, period. In life, it takes a village. When I'm looking at my life decisions, like getting married, having a child, I already know in the back of my mind, I don't have a village. So I already know it's already a little bit harder for me to even think about that, because number one, I've seen the bad end of it twice. It's not saying I don't want to do it, But as a man, looking at everything in front of me, you're going to have to provide for the wife, the kids, you're going to have a house. There's so many things that I have to bring to the table that I look at myself and I'm like, I don't have a village to support me at all, right? So certain decisions, this is not cheating. I'm just saying in perspective of how does your foundation structure you? It is hard for me to do certain things because I already know it's going to be so much more difficult and it's a lot easier if I didn't have to reinvent the wheel all the time like my other 4 friends have to do, and we're still struggling with the same exact thing. It's not that we're making excuses or we're trying to be, useless. Trust me, we got great jobs, we do great things. But it's a little bit more difficult. So if somebody's coming from a household where Papa was a player, Mama was a stripper, right? This is extreme.
That's not it.
No, for real. This is just an extreme, of course, right? This is an extreme, right? Same thing in a Nigerian household. If mom and dad are educated, there's a reason why most Nigerians are educated. Because mom and dad are educated. And they emphasize these things. So, we're going back and forth. We've gone very, very far. I want to conclude this because this episode is like 450,000. But nonetheless, if you want to I'll give my conclusion first. There are a lot of things that were not mentioned. Of course, we just kind of specified what came to mind. This is live on air. Why men cheat, a lot of it to me has a lot to do with foundation. Inside first, right? If I am one with myself, I cannot see myself giving that much power to a lot of women because to be quite honest with you, I love you, my ladies, but y'all some crosses to carry, yo. And I cannot see myself giving myself that pressure to carry 10 crosses. I don't know how my boys do it, who are on Tinder every day, and when I look at the value of their life, I can see that draining their energy. So it's not something I want to do for myself. I'm trying to find myself first, give myself solid foundation, and then travel on this journey with somebody who's looking to go the same exact way. Will slip-ups happen here and there? Probably, but I need to be able to talk to her about, yo, look, I'm in the middle of 3 beautiful ladies. Okay, you can conclude.
So my conclusion is I feel that men cheat because of options. And with the more options you have, the more accessibility you have to them. So I think if a man is strong enough to see the options, to piggyback off my brother, and communicate with his partner, then cheating won't be. So it's all about the options.
Well, I mean, a man is always gonna cheat. That is the world we live in. It's never gonna go away because you just have women that make themselves available to certain situations. No judgment, it's your choice. But me personally, it all boils down to the respect factor. When you meet an individual, I always truly believe that there are things that you pick up on their character. And if you choose to continue along the road of getting to know them, along those characters, despite the fact that there are things that you don't agree with, then at some point, that's how it's just going to be. It's never going to change because it started from the beginning of the road. So, if you don't want to tolerate it, if you don't think you can tolerate it, if you respect yourself, which I personally, that's a big thing to me, then it starts from the beginning. That's all I have to say.
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think all men cheat. Because I have friends that don't cheat. I think a lot of times, like, society has put this pressure that men should have 10,000 women. They should have as many options as they can manage. And as you mentioned earlier, there's when you put that pressure on men to do that, you neglect the psychological effect that it has on them. Because they're not even thinking about it. They're like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Meanwhile, they'll talk about, I have friends that are whores, male friends, that are just what I like to call community property. Because, anyone that wants it can get it. Not only, there's not only women that are like that. So, so when it comes to those guys, but really, they're lonely.
Cheers to that 100,000 times. Yo,
lonely. And then that's because the psychological effect of cheating, of men cheating, is never addressed. They're never really in touch with the fact that you're sleeping around, you're just passing out your energy to everything and just splitting up your soul into a million billion pieces. And not even aware that that's what you're doing because that's what they're doing because it's like, oh, it's just sex, it's nothing. But it's a lot, it's everything, it's a bond, that you're making fake bonds with women all over
James
wherever.
Bonds.
And And there was one thing I forgot to mention earlier that I guess I'll just toss it in now. The one thing that was never mentioned was honesty and loyalty. This idea of cheating, just the cheating, and it's just, the physical and the aspect, physical and the mental aspect of it, that affects the woman. But the men are not really, there's never really that consciousness that when you're cheating, you're lying to your spouse. You're choosing to lie to your spouse. And then that's the way, I wasn't doing nothing, there's nothing wrong with you. No, you're lying. You have become a liar by choice. And so it's not just cheating, because cheating is like, well, it's almost like it's casual. But when you draw the attention to the fact that you are now a liar, you are a dishonest person.
Is there a guy watching this that you're talking to?
No, I'm just saying.
You're a liar, bro.
No, I'm just saying. Listen, you said to the camera, like whoever, like the cheater is a liar, and I think that just needs to be brought into the conversation more than just, oh, I'm having sex with this person, I'm having a conversation. You're lying, and same thing with a woman. You're a liar. You're a dishonest person. It's not just about sex and relationship. You have chosen to be dishonest in your relationship and with yourself.
And let me close this out since this is, sorry, love you guys, love you all. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Before I close this out though, since this is a house of comments for, set up for gentlemen, I want to close out by saying I appreciate everything you guys said. The one thing that I would mention that we kind of spoke about, you mentioned there's pressure for men to be promiscuous, right? Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of pressure ignoring a man's wiring of not of promiscuity, but of hunting, right? So there's a lot of pressure for him to, there's a lot of pressure from the boys and society, you gotta be a player, you gotta get a lot of chicks. The truth is, a lot of times, when you spread yourself too thin, you're kind of empty inside. There's truth to that. Yeah. Also, there's pressure for us to, pressure builds pipes, pressure also builds diamonds. Pressure bursts pipes, when you restrict a man's honest wiring so much, you can't cheat, you can't look at it. It's gonna, you're gonna have problems.
That's okay, time.
Nonetheless, House of Commons, the house stands. House of Commons.
Come on, tap. We didn't